Court cards make a lot of people cringe whenever they come up in a reading. I don't know what it's like for you, but if you clicked on this video, chances are you have a little bit of room to learn about court cards and you want to become confident. You don't want to be shook up every time you uncover a card and a court card comes up and you're like, damn, now I have to somehow construct the meaning in my mind. I'm not sure what it means. Does it mean a person? Does it mean an energy, etc., etc.? There's so much going into court cards, and they are made a very big deal in the tarot teaching industry for some reason. And a lot of people get that in their heads and have a lot of insecurities about court cards. And I want you to shed those insecurities with this video. If you watch it all the way through, I promise you're not going to cringe at court cards anymore. You're not going to be shook when they come up. You're going to have a deeper understanding of them. And I'm going to talk about, do they represent people? Do they represent energies? How do you figure that out? I will talk about the construct of gender with court cards because some people struggle with that too. Like, oh, if I'm supposed to be the King of Swords, how could that be? I'm a woman, I can't be the King of Swords, etc. We're going to tackle that. You're going to let those thoughts go. And I'm also going to teach you a 4-step method of how you can react when a court card comes up and what you can bring to your mind whenever that happens in a reading so that you can read them confidently. Because when I started reading tarot in 2017, I didn't really struggle with court cards. And there's a specific reason why. And a few years ago, I figured out why that was. And I want to share that with you too, so you can make it easier for yourself as well. And I think this whole panic around court cards is unnecessary. Believe me, they are not as difficult as everyone makes them think they are, makes you think they are, and they're not a huge deal. If they are a huge deal in your head, it's just going to get worse. So we're going to dispel that and make court cards feel easy and natural for you whenever you do a reading for yourself or for clients. So we will break that spell and you will clear that belief out of your head that court cards are difficult. And I'm just going to explain to you how I read them. I do want to note before we start, I already have separate videos about court cards that are very long. I have one for every court card suit. I have a general one how to read them, but I wanted to put all of this in one video because a few months ago I made a video, maybe you know it, called How to Remember All Tarot Cards. It was like an hour long and people loved that video. And I realized that sometimes it's better to put all the things into one teachable video rather than split it up. So just so you know, there's more court card content on my page as well. But in this one, I will try to cover everything that you need to know. All right. So I recommend that you get your deck out. I recommend that you have the court cards ready so you can look at them. I will also hold up a few court cards from the Tarot Mucha because that is just my deck of choice, one of my absolute favorites. If you've seen my video showing all of my decks, some of my decks, not all of them, you will know that this is my basic, reliable, wonderful deck. So shortly about me, I'm Anya Esma. I've been teaching tarot here on YouTube since 2018, and I don't even want to babble too much. I just want to get started so that we can get through this information for you. If you want to know more about me, obviously, you can look on Instagram, you can look at my Patreon, you can look at my website. All of that is there. But for now, let's focus on the court cards. Get your cards out, and we will hydrate for a second. I literally have to put these hydration breaks into my script because otherwise I will forget that I'm human and that I need to drink water. So in case you're the same, do drink water right now or tea or whatever you have. All right, the first thing that we're going to talk about is, do we read court cards as people? When do we read them as people? Do we read them as people at all? And I think this is one of the most important things I will cover in this video. So make sure you watch this section all the way through. So if the question you asked obviously is specifically about other people in your life, it is about a certain situation at work, it is about your relationship, then I think, yes, sometimes court cards can specifically represent people, and you could read it as that. There are people with a more modern approach who say court cards are basically never people and they are only energies within you. So, those are two ways to read them. You can read them as literal people, or you can read them as energies around you or aspects within yourself that you maybe need more of or less of, or whatever it may be in the context of the reading. So, generally, I would say yes, the cards speak about energies in you, but they can be people as well. And you need to just get into a practice. You need to sharpen your intuition in order to tell when is it a person, when is it an energy in you. Personally, I think it doesn't matter that much. And this is really the most important thing. I want to change your perspective on this black and white thinking of, is it a person? Which person is it? Or is it an energy in me? It's kind of both. It's always both. And I want to tell you how I see it. So, when you dream about a person at night, you have a dream, there is a person in it, maybe a person that you haven't seen in 20 years, maybe a person you've seen yesterday. But I think we can all agree that in dreams, usually people are symbols for some part of you. They are still the literal people in your dream, your classmate from 30 years ago, or your mom, or your ex boyfriend, your ex girlfriend, your ex partner, your ex spouse. Yes, they are those people, but they are also just a representation of a part of you. It could be an unlived part of you, or an energy that you need to unlock more of, or a shadow that you have to confront. They are representations brought to you by your subconscious to send you a certain message that you have to be open to. So if you dream about your mother yelling at you, it's maybe more about the internal voice that your mother has left within you, that voice of criticism or voice of belittling or whatever may have happened in your childhood. And you might think more in that direction after the dream rather than thinking, I have to call my mom now and confront her about yelling at me, you know? It's the same as when you dream about a partner cheating on you. You wouldn't wake up and be like, justify yourself. You cheated on me in my dream. You would wake up and think about what deep seated fear in you lives underneath all of that. You know, is there a fear of rejection, a fear of being alone, a fear of being less important than someone else, being second place because maybe you experienced emotional neglect as a child? All of these things can manifest in your dreams. And that is exactly how you can shift your perspective about tarot, because tarot is so much about the subconscious as well. So you see, just like in a dream where not every person you encounter is literally that person, it is the same with the cards. It's your subconscious mind communicating with you through a personified version of a fear, a part of you that needs attention, a feeling you have suppressed, a shadow that you need to deal with. And that is really the most important perspective shift. Write that down, write that down. And next time you encounter a court card, maybe see it more of as like, okay, it reminds me of that person, but what energy does that person hold in my subconscious mind or in my conscious mind even? So it's not so much about the anxiety of, oh, is it a person? Is it an energy? Is it something that will happen? Is it someone I know? Is it someone I don't know? Those things aren't so relevant when we read tarot in a psychological and spiritual way. Those things do not matter as much if you think about the energies that the person holds. So, how can you do that practically? I think the reason I never struggled with court cards is because I never read them as people in the first place. I learned to read them as energies. And yes, sometimes maybe a person comes to my mind, but then what do? I ask myself, how does my mind see that person? What is one word I would use to describe that person? What is the prevalent energy that that person holds whenever I think about them? You know? So you might associate the card with the person. Your intuition might be like, "Oh, it's about this or that person in your life." And then you'll be like, "Sure, but how can I make it psychological? How can I look at it as if this person popped up in a dream and I'm seeing it as a part of my mind, a part of my consciousness being represented in the cards so that you can figure out what is the concept that you have of this person?" Because the people, even the ones you are close to, they still have a predominant energy or a predominant role in your life that doesn't include all of them. You'd never see a person as the full person in your life. You don't see all of their facets. They have a certain role and a certain meaning to you. And I think that is one of the reasons why some people often dream. You can let me know in the comments if this is you, because I find that super interesting. Some people dream more about people they don't know so well than about people they know. You might dream about a random stranger you saw on the street. You might dream about a classmate, as I said, from 30 years ago. You might dream of a childhood friend that you haven't spoken to in 15 years. And the reason is that the less you know a person, the less you know the nuance, the more they just become this energetic imprint of something your subconscious mind has constructed of them. And I know I'm kind of going off topic here. This is about court cards, don't worry. But I just need you to understand this concept of people can be imprints, like codes of themselves, and not literal complex human beings in tarot. So then you do the work of uncovering if that comes up. How would you describe that person in one word? How do you relate to that concept? And how can that person or that energy help you connect the dots in the tarot reading? That's really what we're doing here. All right, so we've covered that. I hope that this helped some of you who have a lot of anxiety about, like, how do I read it as a person? How do I read it as an energy? We don't need to see those as juxtapositions. It's really all an amalgamation of energies that you can figure out through the reading. All right, let me know if that helped you or if it's very theoretical. Sometimes I talk, and it's very theoretical and philosophical. So let me know in the comments, please. Second thing we will talk about is the representation of gender and how that works for us. As I said, sometimes, you do a reading for yourself and the King of Swords comes up and you're like, well, that can't be me. I am a woman, so King of Swords must be someone else. And I want to deconstruct that because I've already said that the court cards often are more energies than actual people. And with the whole construct of gender that we have in our society, we need to understand something. We need to pick that apart a little bit. I like to not see the court cards as this is male and this is female. I like to see them as more of a yin and yang. And within Taoism or Buddhism or whatever other Eastern philosophy yin and yang is a part of, within those philosophies, they aren't so tied to gender usually. That's just us in the West being like, yin is female and yang is male. And that's understandable, but it's not how I want to see this. Yin and yang are more energetic ideas, energetic concepts. It's like with yin, you have this energy of withdrawal, of receiving, of drawing inwards. The best thing for me to explain that, and the way I understood it, is that in winter, all of the plants, they withdraw into the earth. And that's a very yin energy, withdrawing, gathering power, being within yourself. Whereas yang would then be springtime, for example. So the seeds that were under the earth, they're exploding, they're going outwards, they're going upwards. All the energy is rising, 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 rather than withdrawing, withdrawing, withdrawing. And it's more of an outward burst than an inward ocean that's just kind of, like with the high priestess, she has the ocean behind her, and that's the subconscious. That's how I see yin. Yin is like intuition, it's the ocean within you. And yang is more the idea of outward action. But at the same time, in the West, we like to also juxtapose those two, whereas they are not, they are just a consequence of themselves. You wouldn't say that one certain plant is just doing yang activities. They're doing yin stuff in the winter, they're doing yang stuff in the spring, or some plants might go completely against that. But I just want to really show you that it's not that much about gender, but more about outward action and inward receiving and being within yourself and withdrawing inward. Kind of the difference of burying a seed, maybe even before the winter, you bury the seed and then a huge plant comes out of it in spring. That progression of yin and yang is really more useful than thinking about it as this social construct of gender and of you can only be a queen if you are a woman. You can't have king of swords energy, No, we're letting that go, because the king of swords lives within all of us, and it is more outward energy, it is more yang energy, but it's not male, and you can never have that energy as a woman. I know there's many other perspectives and examples of this, like the whole anima and animus thing, like that you have feminine and masculine aspects within yourself. But I think that again genders it in a way. And that is why I like yin and yang so much, because it's more about the rhythms of nature and less about your actual, your actual gender or the construct of gender that we've made up in this society. So try to see the chord cards a little bit more like that, like a mountain that the light shines on, and sometimes it shines on one side and the one is in the shade, and sometimes it shines on the other and the other side is in the shade. It's always shifting, always moving, and it's not so much about gender at the end of the day. All right, so that was the second thing I wanted to talk about. And now let us get to the third part and the most important part of this video, probably. I know I already said that the first thing was the most important thing. Everything is important about this video. Ta-da! Anyways, so the third thing is the 4-step method that I use. There's 4 energies that influence every chord card. Of course, there's even more energies technically. There's also the cards surrounding it. They give you advice on the card, etc. But we will make it a little bit simple here. So the acronym that I made up is SHIP, SHIP. So when a chord card comes up, you can think about SHIP, and we will go through what every letter means. So S stands for the energy of the suit that you have in front of you. So every suit, as you probably know, has an element that goes with it. And of course, if you look at a chord card, you have to look at the element of the suit. So for example, if you have the Page of Cups, it would be the cups, it would be water. If you have the Knight of Swords, it would be air, because swords are air. If you have the Page of Pentacles, it would be earth, because pentacles are earth. And then the cups, let me quickly get the Queen of Cups. beautiful, um, of course, would be water. Exactly. So those are the four elements that the suits have. And that is the first element of our little ship acronym. So first you would see what is the element of the suit? What suit are you dealing with? Secondly, and a lot of people, this is probably where a lot of people struggle. The H stands for hierarchy. What do I mean by hierarchy? I mean that, of course, we have a progression from page to knight, and then queen and king are kind of on the same level. And that understanding that progression is very important. So let me explain. The pages, because they are kind of the first chord card, the first step, are an energy of beginners, of learners, of, they hold kind of a similar energy to the Fool card, that curiosity and that potential. But with the Fool card, we have limitless potential. We have potential that does not have a form yet. With the pages, we have potential, we have the first step happening, we have the beginning of the journey, we have curiosity, but that curiosity is channeled in a certain way. For example, with the Page of Pentacles, it is channeled into Pentacle energy. With the Page of Cups, it's channeled into Cups energy, and so forth. So that is the first thing you have to understand about pages, that they are like the beginning. And the knights then are the second step. The knights, let me show you a different one. For example, the Knight of Wands. The knights are perspective shifters, kind of. So they have experience more than the pages. They are not curious anymore. They have experience, they have confidence. And now it's a matter of the reading, whether you should get back into that curiosity a bit, maybe, and not have so much confidence in your ability, or you should have confidence and make a decision, because the knights are about action. They are about confidence in your knowledge, and you replace curiosity with, they're kind of graduated. If you start your studies at a university, at a school, whatever it is, you start with curiosity, and then once you have your degree, you have a little bit more knowledge. And the knights, I think something that really helps you understand them is that they are at this point where they think they know everything. Maybe you know this feeling. Last time I had that feeling was when many years ago I started studying astrology, and I had understood all of the planet energies and all of the sign energies. And I'm like, now I know everything. Now I understand astrology. And then you get to the point, that's the night energy. Like, I have learned this. And then you get to the point where you realize, oh, there's a lot more. There's degrees, there's conjunctions, there's so much more to astrology. And I actually realize I know nothing. Knights are not at that point yet. They are at the point of, I know everything and I'm going to show you the way. I will teach you everything because I know. I am out of that beginner stage. Look at me. I'm done. So that's the energy the knights bring to a reading. And we will go deeper into what that actually means in the reading in a second. But we're just talking about hierarchies here. So next we have the queens. Now I really want to stress the queens and the kings, they are on one level. It's not that the queen is below the king. The queen is just a different expression of energy. Now, the influence and the energy of the queens is more about that yin energy, about going inward, about influence on a community, about emotion, about mutuality, and also about increased visibility. Because with both the kings and the queens, we have this idea of being more visible and mattering more than a page or a knight. They don't have much visibility. They're just kind of doing their thing. And with the kings and the queens, You are visible to a community, you are visible to the world, and you are kind of representing something. And with the queens, as I said, we have more of that um, energy of the self, figuring out your subconscious, your intuition. Whereas when you go to the kings, we get into this element of governing, this element of leading. And if you have a leadership position in any way, shape, or form in your life, you will know that that takes a lot of responsibility, and it takes the willingness to accept consequences. And that is what the kings are about. They are about decision making, taking action, carrying consequences, and carrying responsibility. And as I said, it's also about visibility. So sometimes the kings come up and they are about you making a decision and being misunderstood for it. And kings are kind of this energy of, I'm okay with being misunderstood because I am the leader of whatever it is, a relationship, a community, a team of people at your job, your own life. And making those decisions and governing and using your free will, that is the core of the kings in that hierarchy. All right, so ship. We've talked about S, which is the suit energy. We've talked about H, which is hierarchy, going from page to king. And then the I in ship is intuition, unsurprisingly. So as you uncover the card, think about what person comes to your mind, what qualities do they have, everything I already said, how would I describe them in one word? How does that relate to the cards that are next to this card? And I know that this is a little bit difficult because, these people, they have a gender, they have hair colors, that they have a general appearance that will manipulate you into thinking of certain people that might have nothing to do with these cards. So you kind of have to learn how to turn that part of your intuition a bit lower. Sure, if they remind you of a person, great. If it's just the looks, like, oh, I know a young blonde guy, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Page of Cups is about that person unless they hold some sort of energy that goes with the Page of Cups. But yeah, your intuition is an important part of card reading. So you just have to get into the practice of listening to your intuition, but also giving it limits. Like, sure, I'm thinking of my father because he also has gray hair, but this King of Wands isn't necessarily about my father, you know? Okay, so we covered the I. Since we have ship, that leaves us with the P. And that is a very interesting thing. I've talked about this at length in my singular court card videos that I mentioned earlier, which I will link below. But P is the element of the person. Because if you look at the King of Wands, we have the energy of the suit, which is fire, but we also have the energy of the kings. And this helps me tremendously to understand the court cards, to think of the energy of pages as an element, the energy of knights as a certain element, and so on. So it's actually very simple. You just have to write this down. You just have to remember it. Pages are earth energy, knights are fire energy, queens are water energy, and the kings are air energy. And I will tell you more about that because I'll tell you more about it later as we get into the specifics of how you would read the cards, because I will do a tiny bit of an example reading as well. Okay, so I think that makes sense. Pages are air, they're kind of the first step. Then knights are fire, they're that forward energy. Queens are water, they run the emotional side of the court, the subconscious. Everything that goes into decision making that is not about logic is the queens, the intuition, the visibility, etc., etc. So Then you have the kings as the air energy, which is the more logical side of decision making and the communication part of decision making as well, telling other people visibly about your decisions that you have made in that sort of, withdrawal period of the yin queen energy. That's more about withdrawal, about intuition, and the king is more about the yang energy, the air energy of speaking, of logic, of intellect. Okay, we've learned a lot now. I hope you've written a lot down. We're not at the end yet, but before we bring it all together, I just want to tell you about something. There's a reason that I make this sort of information, this teaching of tarot cards, of how to use them to heal yourself, etc., available for free. I don't put this into courses because I believe, paid courses, because I believe that this knowledge and understanding of tarot is super powerful to help you for your own self healing. And I just want this to be available for everyone. I love yapping about tarot, and it would pain me to make a video like this and know that it's behind a paywall and only some people will watch it. I love when I see that lots of people can watch it, lots of people comment, lots of people learn from it. And at the same time, of course, I appreciate it if you support me in some way, shape, or form. I do have a donation link at the bottom. I'm also establishing a YouTube membership for that's like €3 a month, I think. I don't know what that is in dollars. And it really helps me if you support me in that way and show that appreciation in that way. For the YouTube members, I will also make an exclusive video that only my YouTube members and my Patreon people members will get to see, which is an example reading where I go much deeper into the practical aspects of these court cards. So if you want to see that, if you want to see more practical than we are about to get, do consider a YouTube membership. There's also my Patreon, which goes even deeper in everything relating to shadow work and tarot. And it would mean a lot to me if you consider supporting me. But don't worry, if you just want to have this information for free, there is no shame in that. So I appreciate you being here either way. You can like this video, you can comment on this video, you can share this video. That helps me as well. But if you want to do a membership, I'm happy. If you want to become a patron, I'm happy as well. All right. And I will see if I can link the exclusive membership video down below as well. It's going to be a continuation of this video, essentially pretty seamlessly, to explain to you more practical how you could read the cards. All right. So since we are not at the end of this video yet, I will give you an in-depth view of one court card family. And I've chosen the family of the swords because I think a lot of people are scared of the swords and I want to take away that fear a little bit. So I'm just going to seek out the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. So I'm just going to show you all four so you've seen them. And we're going to go with the ship method through all of them. Now, let's start with the pages. If you want to, you can also make this more interactive and actually stop the reading, stop the video and kind of write down what you think the ship answers would be, and then check what I say in the video. All right, so let's start. Page of Swords. Ship method. S is the suit element, which is air. H is the hierarchy, which is the page, the beginner, the curiosity. Your intuition, of course, depends on the reading, depends on the context. And then the personal element of the pages is earth, correct. Maybe that wasn't enough time for you to react. Anyways, so we know that the page is foundational and he moves slowly. So what we're going to imagine with the Page of Swords is the idea of stepping into the realm of the swords as a beginner. This works for every suit. Stepping into the realm, imagine it as a real kingdom. You have the kingdom of swords with everything that the swords relate to, and you are stepping into that kingdom as a beginner. You are taking the first steps, you are looking around. That is the energy of the Page of Swords. So when he comes up in a reading, it's about taking a beginner's mindset towards something. It could remind you that you need to rethink a certain way of communicating that isn't really working for you. For example, if you do a reading about miscommunication and the Page of Swords comes up, it's like, go back to the basics. You are not communicating in a way that is helpful, and you need the page to remind you, hi, you need to rethink how you are communicating all of this. It could remind you that you are in need of more knowledge to make a decision. If the Knight of Swords comes up, that could mean make a decision now. You have all the info, or the King of Swords. But with the Page of Swords, it's like, take a step back. You need more information. You need more thinking, more words, more logic, more reading before you can make an informed decision. And needing a more foundational understanding of a topic, let's say, rather than blasting forward. You see, the Page of Swords is just standing there looking, observing. So that's the energy they bring to a reading. That's the reminder that they bring to the reading. And it could also encourage you, like, for example, when you're asking about, should I study again? Should I go into education again rather than just working? If the Page of Swords comes up, that could mean, yeah, you are meant to step into some intellectual field that you are not yet experienced in. So the court cards in general are good at defining the energy of the cards that are next to them. So this page defines the energy of the cards around him and says, hey, take a beginner's mindset about this, learn more about this topic, etc. All right, now let's move on to the Knight of Swords. Ship method now. S, the element of the suit, which is swords, air. Then H is the hierarchy. We have the knights, who is a decision maker, more graduated than the page. Then intuition, once again, depends on the reading, depends on the cards surrounding them. And then P, we have the personal element of the knight, which is fire. So combining all of that, we mix fire and air. That's very intense. The Knight of Swords is a very intense card. Maybe you've heard that before. The Knight of Swords is kind of known for his confidence, for being focused, seeing nothing besides the goal. And that can be good, but it can also mean you're a bit headstrong. You are missing other perspectives. So, depending on the position that the Knight of Swords is, it could remind you to stay focused and to take brave action rather than questioning yourself endlessly. Or it could mean that you're moving too fast, and that you need to rethink some things and you're missing something. You are missing some perspective here. And yes, those are completely contradictory meanings, but that is the beauty and the depth and the nuance of tarot, that you have in every card contained absolutely contradictory meanings that seem like a contradiction at first. And it is your intuitive ability and the rest of the spread that will show you, that will reveal to you how you can connect the dots and what meaning fits into the reading. All right, let's move on to the Queen of Swords. So, ship method, we have SHIP. Energy of the suit is once again air. Hierarchy is the queen. So, the emotional glue of the court, the subconscious, the intuitive. Then I, the intuition, depends on what other cards she comes up with. And then the personal element of the queen is water. So we have water plus air energy, and we have it located in the emotions, in the subconscious. So the Queen of Swords is an energy of trying to understand emotions through language, through communication, through your internal thoughts, and trying to make sense of emotions. It could also mean intellectualizing your emotions a little bit too much rather than feeling them. She doesn't look exactly like the feely, touchy-feely type of person who's in touch with her emotions. She's protecting her heart with the sword, as you see in this card. So it could mean that you're maybe intellectualizing your emotions a bit too much. Now, it could also mean, as you know, remember I said the queen and the king are about visibility, and the queen, the air, the swords, all jumbled in my head. The swords are all about communication. So it could be about communicating your emotions because we have the water energy of the queen. It could about speaking your emotions clearly, speaking your mind queerly. Speak your mind queerly as well. We're all for that. But yeah, clarity in words with regards to emotions. And also metaphorically protecting your emotions with your words as well, giving visibility to something, to your internal world, to your emotions. So when she comes up in a reading, it could be saying, hey, you have some underlying emotions about this that you need to find a name for, that you need to find a language for, and that you need to maybe communicate to someone, etc. So that all depends on your intuition then. All right, let's hydrate before we go to the King of Swords. All right, King of Swords. Ship method. It feels so funny to use an acronym that I just literally invented myself, and now I'm using it as a fact. So, ship method. The suit element is, as with all of the swords, air. The hierarchy is the king, who is the governing decision maker, who takes full responsibility for his actions, is very visible. And then you have your intuition, which depends on the reading. And the personal element of the king is air. It is air as well. So we have double air energy. With the double energies, the Page of Pentacles, he's earth, earth. The Knight of Wands, he is fire, fire. The Queen of Cups, she's water, water. And we have the King of Swords, who is air, air. It's really important to make space for that. Like, sit with that for a second and see that this is crystal clear air energy. Not much else is flowing into this than air energy. So it's a very powerful air card about intellect, about logic, about language. Oh my God, my neighbors are starting to drill now. Stop. I hope you don't hear that. All right. So with the King of Swords, you have the fact that the visibility of your actions matters, your decision making matters. Air is so logical, and it really stands for the decision you make needs to be logical and thought through. You have all the information because this is the king, that we ain't the little page anymore who needs more info. Oh, that's the queen. Never mind. Page, where are you? Here, you're not the page anymore. You are the king now. You have all of the information that you need, and you can act on it. Or you could make a logical decision to remain passive. Because what I love about the king in the Mucha Tarot is that you can't tell whether he is drawing his sword or sheathing his sword, putting it away or pulling it out. You just cannot tell. And that is a very important thing about the King of Swords, that logically they know whether to act or not act. The wisdom that you have contained in this intense air energy is about knowing whether to act or not to act. So this is really a card that is empowering you to make a decision. If it comes up in a spread, it's like, stop doubting yourself. You can make a decision right now because you have all the information. Or depending on the position, you know, if you are asking, what do I need in order to make this decision? And the king comes up, it could be you need more confidence, you need more information, and then you need to feel and just decide, I will take responsibility for this decision. All right. So that's the King of Swords. I hope that this was helpful. I will go more into detail in the membership video, where I will really do example spreads of how does one court card relate to 3 cards lying around it, etc. And how does it relate to the questions you ask. I will link that down below. So if you want to support me and become a member, feel free. For all my patrons watching, you get this video as well, of course, because my Patreon gets all of my exclusive content much more than just the YouTube membership. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would love to hear if this was helpful to you. And I hope that you go out feeling less scared of these cards, especially knowing the ship method that you can go through, knowing more about gender and that it's not as black and white as you might think. And also the whole idea of, is it a person or is it an energy, and that it doesn't matter that much. I hope I could convince you of that with my little dream example. Okay, thank you so much. And it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe, if you like this video, and comment, and all those things, and support my channel. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.